So finding leading coefficients if you're given the zeros and a point. So remember, the leading coefficient is what decides the end behavior. It tells you if it is even, it goes down, or I'm sorry, if it's even, either both ends go up or both ends go down. If it's odd, one end goes up and one end goes down. So that's why we want to know the leading coefficient. And then remember, if the leading coefficient is a number other than 1, it's one of those stretched. That's back to transformations. The larger the number out front, the skinnier the graph is. That's that A value. So the leading coefficient, sometimes you'll hear it also called the A. And that was just from the like the transformation stuff. Okay, so triple root, remember a triple root means that there are actually 3 of them. So if you were to solve them all out, there would be 3 zeros at -3 and then a root at 2. So when you're finding the factored form, so I'm going to go down here and find the factored form. And don't look at that next problem yet, but finding the factored form, if I have -3 as my root, then the parentheses would have been x plus 3. Because remember, this number is what you would plug in there that would make this equation equal 0. So -3 plus 3 would be 0. So my first factor would be x plus 3. Now it's a triple root, so it needs to be cubed. And then a root at 2. So a root at 2 would have meant if 2 was plugged in, 2 plus or minus what would give you 0. So you're just always thinking of working backwards or the opposite. So it would be x minus 2, because 2 minus 2 would be 0. So it would be x minus 2. So that is my factored form. Now, if we're finding the leading coefficient, so that leading coefficient is whenever I plug in these values. So remember, you're going to take this point. It says that there is a point at -2, 4. So my x value would be -2. My y value would be 4. So x at -2, y at 4. So I'm going to plug that in for this equation. So it would be -2 plus 3 cubed and x minus 2. I'm looking for this. Oh, I wrote x. Hold on. Now I gotta find my whiteout. I wrote x again instead of writing -2. And then the A is what I'm looking for, equals the y value of 4. So this information, this point, tells you that the y value is 4 when the x is at -2. So I'm going to go ahead and work this part. So -2 plus 3, and then cube it. So answer cubed. You could also just say -2 plus 3 cubed is just 1 times -2 minus 2 is -4. So then it would be 4 equals A. Well, if I'm trying to find my A value when it's 1 and -4, 1 and -4, 1 times -4 is -4. So I'm going to move over here. I didn't leave myself enough room. So 4 equals A times -4. Well, if I'm still trying to find my A value, I need to do the inverse of multiply by -4, which is just, oops, of course my pencil isn't working, is to divide by -4. So that would cancel, divide by -4. So 4 divided by -4 is -1. So our A value is -1. So that will tell us that it's going to either increase or decrease the whole time. Or it's going to decrease. Now we need to decide what the degree is. So it's a cubed and just a single. So cubed and single, remember that means that it's a fourth, a degree of 4. So both ends are either going to go up or down. Since it's a negative leading coefficient, oh, you couldn't see what I drew. I just drew up or down. So since it's a negative leading coefficient, we know both ends need to go down. So now it says to sketch it. So sketch it. There's a triple root at -3, 1, 2, 3, and a single root at 2, 1, 2. So remember that root at 2, since it's a single or an odd number of root, it's going to go straight through. This is a triple root, so that's also odd, so it's going to go straight through. Now, since it is an even degree, that means both of them, we said, just like we said, are either going to go both up or both down. Since it's a negative leading coefficient, both ends are going to go down. Remember, we don't necessarily know what's going on here in the middle, so it's just going to be, for this one, we're just going to sketch something. Okay? All right, and I wrote on this one that it's a double root. I'm going to just go ahead and call it a single root, just because I want it to not be an even function as well. So I'm going to say a double root at -1 and a root at 2. And then we have a point at 1, 4. So let's go ahead and write it in factored form first. So -1, remember that's going to be the opposite for our factored form, so it's x plus 1. This one would be x minus 2. So we have a double root at x plus 1. So double means squared. A single root at x minus 2. So that's our factored form. Now I need to find the a value. So I'm going to find the a value. So I need to use this information and plug it in. So 4 is our y value. A x plus 1 squared x minus 2, and I just did that again, sorry. So x value is 1, so I need it to be 1 plus 1 and 1 minus 2. So again, we're going to solve for a. So 1 plus 1 is 2 squared, and 1 minus 2 is -1. So it's going to be 2 squared times -1. Go ahead and just type it in. You can actually type in just all of this information right here. So 1 plus 1 squared, 1 minus 2 is -4, or 2 squared times -1 is -4. So it's 4 equals a times -4. This one happens to be exactly the same. Didn't mean to do that, sorry. So now instead of multiplying by -4, I'm going to divide and divide by -4. So -1 is our a value again. So it's a negative leading coefficient. So it's a negative leading. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sketch this. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to write it in standard form. So in order to write it in standard form, and I really am running out of room, I should have left myself more room, but so standard form, remember that means you're just going to multiply every single thing out. So this has a negative leading coefficient, so it'd be negative x plus 1 squared x minus 2. So x plus 1 squared sorry, I accidentally hit pause with my elbow. X plus 1 squared means I'm going to multiply it times itself. So x times x would be x squared. X times 1 would be 1x. 1 times x would be 1x. And 1 times 1 is 1. So x squared plus 1 is 2 plus 1. Then I'm going to have to multiply that by a negative, because that negative out there. So it would be negative x squared minus 2x minus 1. So that's all of that information. Now I need to multiply it by that. So I'm going to go up here and do it. So it would be times negative x squared minus 2x minus 1. And here we go. So x times negative x squared would be negative x cubed. X times negative 2x would be negative 2x squared. X times negative 1, negative 1x. Negative 2 times negative x squared, and negative times a negative would be a positive 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2 would be positive 4x, and negative 2 times negative 1 would be a plus 2. Okay. Combine like terms. We only have one with an x cubed, so it would be negative x cubed. We have 2x squared, so negative 2x squared plus 2x squared, that cancels. Negative 1x plus 4x, negative 1 plus 4 would be positive 3. If you're unsure, always type it in a calculator. If I owe you $1 and I give you $4, I gave you 3 too much. And then I'm going to go ahead and box just so you can see what I combined there. And then a 2, so plus 2. Now, a reason that you want to sometimes do this step is that is now showing me my y-intercept. So I know this is a lot of work, but I wanted to show you. In some cases, they're going to write it in standard form. Remember, there's the leading coefficient, here's the degree, and here's the y-intercept. So it actually helps you to have it in this form just because you have all of that information. So let's go ahead and sketch now that we know the y-intercept as well. We know that there is a double root at negative 1, a single root at 2. So remember, double root means it either bounces this way or this way. And this one is going to go straight through or go through. Now, it's a negative leading coefficient and it's cubed. So that means it needs to decrease like that. So it's going to have to start up high and end down low. And then we have a y-intercept of a positive 2. So we said that this one bounces off. So it's going to go through there and then go down. Now, I did just have a meeting with the other Algebra 2 teachers, and we are not going to be able to have calculators on the next test. So you are going to have to know this stuff. You're going to have to know if it says double root, it bounces. You're going to have to be able to know how to find the y-intercept. You're going to have to know how to find the a value. Because if I just gave you this information, or if I gave you this information, you would easily be able to identify the graph. So I did get outvoted. We will not be able to use our calculators on the next test. So make sure you understand how to do all of this stuff that we are looking at. Okay, so that is how you find the leading coefficient, is you use this formula down here.